Hello, welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast. We talk about the NBA, which we're doing on late Thursday evening, later than normal for August, but it's the way it goes. Joining us from New York City, where he's solo dad this week and growing a beard to prove it, Tim Bontemps.
That is true. Shout out to the Georgian national team. Huge win over Spain today. My old pal from the Brooklyn Nets, Toko Shengelia. Huge game. It's fun to watch those guys win. Going away this afternoon.
Yeah, Eurobasket is in effect. How did Turkey do in their first game, gents?
Turkey had a win. Nice win over Latvia. The home standing Latvians got smoked.
Not bad. 8,000 to 1. That could have been a nice bet. All right, joining us from Dallas, Texas, wearing Salt Lake City Summer League gear is Pan MacMahon.
Howdy, partners. Got a little fresh shipment of the Salt Lake City Summer League swag. Always appreciate the fine folks who run that tournament. Run that league, I should say. I'm hoping somebody will send Bontemps a razor because it's a rough situation. A razor and some clippers. I mean, the hair is really like poking out underneath the backwards ball cap.
Well, it's the
summertime. Yes, that will be rectified soon, hopefully.
Okay, so as we go through the next few weeks, we're going to take a look at the league division by division, and we were trying to figure out where to start. And Bontemps wanted to talk about tiers, and I said no more tiers. Can't have any more tiers. But we were trying to figure out where to start, and unfortunately, I think we need to start in the Central Division because we had
Cavs corner.
Significant,
actually melancholy Cavs corner. Bad Cavs corner.
Yeah, so it's never good when two of your starters have foot surgery in the off season. That's my analysis of that.
Seems less than ideal.
Really never good when any do, but yeah, certainly not when you double up on it.
Right. So earlier this summer, Darius Garland had surgery on his turf toe that was really limiting him in the playoffs last year, and definitely caused him to miss several games against the Pacers. And he later gave an interview to Cleveland.com saying he was basically playing on one foot, and so he is going to be out. Their timetable they put was a little squishy, but most likely is going to be out for at least the start of the season. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't need your all-stars in October, but still, they're going to miss him at the start of the season. And then this was a pretty significant setback. This week, the Cavs announced that Max Strus had suffered a Jones fracture. It's a particularly difficult type of fracture to the fifth metatarsal, the outer edge, the outer side of your foot. If you remember, about a decade ago, Kevin Durant had a Jones fracture. And
that's the most famous example of it for sure.
He ended up needing 3 different procedures now it obviously was healed because he's gone on to have great next 10 years. But in Durant's case, he came back after a couple of months and then needed the screw taken out, which sometimes happens with Jones fractures, that the screw bothers you, that they have to put in to fix it. And you have to get that taken out. Then you got to recover from that. And in the case of Durant, he had a re-break. I remember there's a family, a doctor in the family who's does orthopedic work. And do you remember when Russell Westbrook got elbowed in the face and there was a dent in his face?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So I was with him that night, and this doctor who's in the family, and he goes, "Boy, I'm really worried about this guy from Oklahoma City." I go, "Yeah, I know he's got a dent in his face." He goes, No, that's an easy fix. We see that in the ER all the time. They just use a little suction cup. I bet he doesn't even miss any games. I go, "Really? He's got a dent?" He goes, "Yeah, he's fine." He goes, "No, I'm worried about the guy with the Jones fracture." He's like, "They're bringing him back way too soon." And sure enough, Westbrook missed no games. And sure enough, Durant had the Jones fracture happen again and ended up missing the rest of that season, needed a third surgery. Now, the reason I bring that up is the Cavs are putting Max Strus's timeline at 3 to 4 months.
It's 3 to 4 months to return to basketball activities. That's
right.
Not 3 to 4 months to play, which I think is important to note.
So this is there's no broken foot that you're like, oh, it's just that kind of broken foot. No problem. But this is a real setback for for the Cavs because, they're in the second apron, and there were some reports recently that the Cavs were maybe looking for another wing player. And I was like, that's kind of surprising. And then now you can kind of see why, because this is, they have an open roster spot, but they're in the second apron. This is difficult. So look, at the end of the day, he's not out for the season, although he's going to be out for a big chunk of it. Last year, Strus missed the first 27 games when he sprained his ankle in a workout where he was just working out with an assistant coach and took a terrible sprain of his ankle in a freak injury. And the Cavs said in their release that this also happened in a workout. So very bit of unfortunate news for the Cavs. And look, the Cavs are the favorites in the East. And ultimately, Garland and Strus are not, expected to miss the season or anything. But Bontemps, this is not what you want to see for a team that's trying to, make what they hope is a finals run season.
No, it's obviously not ideal, particularly this Max Strus news. I mean, Darius Garland hopefully will be ready for the start of the season. But, like you said, if you just do the math, if you want to be charitable, Max is going to start working out again at the start of December. So, that's on the early timeline of the 3 to 4 months. And that's, I assume, going to require a good amount of time to get back up to speed before he's going to play. So, you're probably talking about missing close to the first half of the season, if not more than that.
If he's back before the All-Star break, they should be happy.
Yeah. And they are. And look, let's also be real about it, right? There's not a lot of competition at the top of the East this year. There's at most 5 or 6 teams that we think have a real shot. It's probably 3 or 4. So if this was the Western Conference and you were talking about a key team losing a starter for half the season or more, you'd probably have some real alarm bells going off. But what have we seen over the last couple of years, in particular with Donovan Mitchell? We've seen him wear down as the season's gone on, even as the Cavs have tried to keep his minutes down, and he's run out of some steam in the playoffs and had injury issues in the playoffs. So to me, a huge challenge for the Cavs this season was to try to get to the playoffs with everybody fully healthy and ready to go, and then give themselves the best chance to get through what should be an advantageous bracket for them. And it's going to be that much harder for Cleveland to do that when you start off with Max Strus and Darius Garland either out or coming back from off-season surgeries, and you've got a guy in Lonzo Ball coming off the bench who, while we all agree is a really good player and was good when he was on the court with Chicago last year, is another guy that your goal is to have him get through the season healthy and be ready to go to play a key reserve role when the playoffs start, not a guy you're hoping to rely on to be playing significant minutes throughout the year.
As much as they will miss Darius Garland's production if he's not ready to roll early in the season, and even if he needs to be ramped up early in the season, which I would assume is maybe the best case scenario, I do think wearing down Donovan Mitchell is probably the biggest concern. Last year, they really were able to kind of ease the burden on him, limit his minutes. So it wasn't nearly as bad as the year before. But last year, Darius Garland was healthy for the vast majority of the regular season, unlike the previous year where Donovan was completely on fumes and dealing with all kinds of issues by the time that the playoffs rolled around. And they've got some depth at wing, but you mentioned Lonzo Ball, and he can kind of be your primary initiator some, also some wing depth, but he's not playing back to backs. He's not playing heavy minutes. DeAndre Hunter, nice addition for them last year. He's not been the most durable guy.
That's true. They got to keep an eye.
Dean Wade is another good player on the wing who's had injury issues. It's going to be a big year for Sam Merrill. They obviously signed him. They kept him. They lost Ty Jerome in free agency. Sam Merrill's going to be a key piece for Cleveland either way. Like, he's going to have to be good and productive for them and available early in the year. I mean, like I said, the Cavs should feel fortunate. They're in the East. They should have a lot of wiggle room, but I'm sure Cleveland would love to have home court advantage in a series against Orlando or New York or maybe even Atlanta, depending on how they look, or some of these other teams. And this could be a year where, at least as of now, it might be like the later LeBron years in Cleveland, where it's less about where the Cavs are in the standings and more about making sure when they get to the playoffs, everybody's fully amped up and ready to go for the run.
That's true. And so one other factor here, the Cavs traded Isaac Okoro for Lonzo Ball. And this is a situation where Okoro would have been the guy to get a lot more minutes here for Strus, most likely. So there will be, they really had DeAndre Hunter play a lot of 4 last year. So I think you would see him play more 3 as the natural here, and more minutes for Dean Wade, who can play 3 or 4. So, the Cavs
and more minutes too. The other thing, a lot more minutes for Larry Nance, our guy who was just on the pod, because to your point, maybe. Well, the two guys who are very durable on the Cavs always, right, are Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. Those guys are available and play a lot. And if you're going to have, like, what's an easy way to extend your minutes is to get more game time with the 3 of those guys rotating through. And then, like you said, you can play DeAndre Hunter down. You can play Dean Wade down. You can, Jalen Tyson, who was a rookie last year and didn't play much.
Yeah,
is
so that's the guy I was
going to
mention.
minutes.
So Jalen Tyson, who was their 2024 first-round pick, he had some moments last year, was derailed with injury for part of the year, so he probably will get more of a look. So, probably the most significant news for the Eastern Conference. If you're the Knicks, what you're hoping for is to get home court advantage. And, the Knicks were 0-4 against the Cavs last year in the regular season. Obviously didn't matter. They went farther in the playoffs. But if you're the Knicks, you're like, hey, Boston's banged up, Indy's banged up. Now the Cavs are a little bit banged up. Sounds good. I would say that the 2 things about the Knicks that are most interesting, I mean, we know who's on their roster, but 2 things about the Knicks that are most interesting going into the season as we sit here now. Number 1, they're healthy, which is a lot of their rivals can't say. And number 2, they're not in the second apron. Actually, I think they might be a nose over it, but they've got some non-guaranteed contracts. I think they will be a non-second apron team when the season starts. And that means that they have the ability to be flexible in a way that the Cavs cannot be. And
we're already making excuses, Tim. We're not even to September. We got excuses in Cavs corner.
Because what happened? We had the big old brouhaha in the spring about, was that second round exit a disappointment? I just remember a Cavs corner mayor getting awfully mad.
That's right.
Feisty. He kind of got in full blown jackass mode. So he's just trying to lay the foundation for this not being a disappointment.
Laying the bricks.
All right. So moving on in the Central Division, one of the Central Division's most relevant players played today. Giannis Antetokounmpo played for Greece. I believe they were in Poland. I think they were in Poland.
I don't think they were in Poland because they were playing at the same time as Slovenia, who
okay.
Was in Poland.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, they were somewhere.
Hey, Giannis said, "Hey, bro, you said this FIBA stuff's tough on me." The man was at 31 on 20 shots.
Yeah, 31 today, 7 rebounds. Well, let's not overreact there. They beat Italy by 9, I believe. So Giannis.
Nicola Melli, a man who's represented my underwear drawer, still playing for Italy. You have to have attended the live pod to get that one. That was in the Q&A.
Oh, God.
Giannis, 14 of 20 from the floor. 14 of 20 from 2-point range. No 3-pointers. 7 rebounds, 2 assists.
They were in Cyprus, which could you find Cyprus on a map?
Yeah, of course I could. I'm a man of the world.
You're a man of the world, I'll tell you.
5 turnovers, 1 steal. So very good start for Giannis. And here we are about to be September, and Giannis is very much planted on the Bucks. So I still think it's something that people are going to be keeping a close eye on.
As they have been for 7 years.
Yes, but especially now. Yeah. But, the Bucks obviously make the big move by cutting Dame Lillard and bringing in Miles Turner. They are they're a team that I think their goal should probably be, can we get a top 4 seed and make sure that Giannis and our core players are healthy in April? Do what you can to make sure those players are healthy. They've had horrible injury luck for 3 consecutive years in the postseason, and that's the best thing that they can hope for. The
I would say they should just hope to be top 6. I mean, I think they're projected to finish 8th or 9th by the odds in the East. So, I mean,
do you agree with that? I mean, assuming you get a reasonably healthy, let's say
their roster is not very good. I mean, it's a massive. They're putting a massive burden on Giannis to be the sole engine of their team for 82 games. And any game Giannis doesn't play, they've got a bottom 5, 6 roster.
Right, and he's not playing 82 games.
Right,
he's played 70 games one time. In the last 1, 2, 3, 4, one time in the last 6 years, he's played.
That's my concern.
Here are Giannis's games since 2019-20. 63, 61, 67, 63, 73, 67.
Yeah,
so you're talking about missing 15 games a year.
And in none of those seasons did he average more than 35 minutes per game. 23-24 is when he played the 73 games, he averaged 35.2. That's the most. So you're telling me he's going to need to play likely more minutes
and harder minutes.
Being these, not just primary facilitator, but pretty damn close to like the sole facilitator. Look, Giannis might have an MVP season again next year. That's certainly within the realm of possibility. But man, as he's over 30 now. And how many, are they going to try to play this guy 36, 38?
No, because they have to protect April. But I will say this, part of when you're forecasting.
They also have to get to April. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. They have to. Well, but look, if you're projecting the Bucks, part of the Bucks projection is you're trying to figure out how good the Pacers and the Celtics are going to be.
Well, I don't think it's that. I mean, let's just do the teams quick, right? They're going to be, they're behind Cleveland. They're behind New York. They're behind Orlando. They're behind Atlanta. I would say they're behind Miami. After they added Norm Powell, I think Miami's going to be better than them this year. You want to say maybe? Maybe's fine. I'm fine with maybe.
Now we're in the maybe zone.
Yeah, I would say Detroit.
I would say Detroit should be probably projected to finish ahead of them. They're a lot deeper. I don't know if they will for sure, but I'd say it's a maybe, leaning towards yes.
Yeah,
we'll see about Boston. We'll see about Indy. The one team I will say that's been very discounted in our forecast stuff, which is a look ahead to something we're going to talk about in a couple of days probably, is Toronto's not losing 50 games this year. They're going to be trying to win games. They have at least a representative roster. They added Brandon Ingram didn't even play for him last year. They've got him and Scotty Barnes and Emmanuel Quickly. They're going to be in the mix for a spot in there. I'm not saying they're finishing ahead of the Bucks, but I think the Bucks are going to be they're going to need Giannis healthy to stay ahead of a lot of these teams.
You're higher on Toronto than I am.
I just don't think Toronto's going to be 32-50. I think they could be 41-41, and the Bucks
have had a 600 winning percentage. Basically, I'm rounding up on last year. It was 550, 590. The Bucks have had a 600 winning percentage for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 consecutive years.
Right, and the Bucks turned Brook Lopez and Dame Lillard into Miles Turner.
I understand, but I'm just pointing that out. I agree that this is a weaker team, but Giannis is that kind of a driver.
He is, but who other than Giannis on this roster can do any kind of damage off the dribble?
Kevin Porter Jr. and Kyle Kuzma are your two answers.
I mean, I was going to say, are you going to tell me Cole Anthony?
Again, this is look, if Giannis, to your point, MacMahon, if Giannis can play 75 plus games, which he obviously has not done in a long time, he's got a chance to win MVP because he's going to put up astronomical numbers. And if he does that, they could finish 3rd or 4th. They could win a lot of games, and he will get a lot of credit for that, sort of like the Russell Westbrook MVP season. It's not exactly the same, but I'd say it's got some parallels to it. But again, that's assuming he can hold up under that load of playing time and player usage because he had an insane usage down the stretch of the season. And any game he
was
misses,
playing point guard.
Well, right, but he's any game he misses, they're going to be pretty heavy favorites to lose.
Well, and the other thing is, Giannis obviously has been a defensive player of the year. He has the ability to be a massively impactful defender. But how much is he going to have to give you on the defensive end if you need him to go for 32, 12, and 8 and have the ball in his hands for 37 minutes a night?
Yeah, it's like to me, if they can finish in the top 6, I think that's a very successful year for the Bucks. And if they can, to your point, if they can, sort of like we were just talking about with Cleveland, if they can be in the top 6 and have Giannis healthy at the start of the playoffs, then yeah, they'll take their chances going up against anybody and hope Giannis can do Giannis things in the playoffs. Like that's a bet worth making.
Although Giannis did
Giannis
things, Giannis did Giannis things against the Pacers last year, and it wasn't a competitive series. He was ridiculous.
You could also argue there's not a team like the Pacers last year in this year's East. So,
all right. Well, speaking about the Pacers, they're in the Central Division, and dealing with the loss of 2 starters that they're not going to get back, which Miles Turner goes to the Bucks, which didn't, much to the chagrin of the Bucks who think that Miles Turner is a game changer. Bontemps didn't change your feeling on them at all. But I didn't hear you. I don't think I even heard you. Do you think
adding Miles Turner is good. It's just like they had Brook Lopez and they had Dame Lillard last year, and the two of them became Miles Turner. Like that's a downgrade, and the rest of the roster was already rough.
Miles Turner is an upgrade from Brook Lopez at this point in Lopez's career, but he's not like just some drastic math, just like, oh my God.
Dame was really good last year. Like he averaged 25 and 7. Like that guy's just gone from their team. It's going to be fascinating to see how it goes. Very curious.
All right. Well, the Pacers are not getting Turner back. He's gone. And obviously Tyrese Haliburton is out for the season.
Yeah.
They have some guys who I do think can shoulder a bigger load. I'm certainly not saying anybody's replacing Haliburton, but Andrew Nembhard is going to have a bigger role, and in the past he's had a bigger role in the playoffs and has shouldered it well. You could see TJ McConnell having a bigger role, finals darling TJ McConnell. I don't think they're going to all of a sudden start playing him massive minutes because I think they need to control his minutes for various reasons, but TJ McConnell will have a bigger role. It's possible Johnny Furphy, who was a bit of a standout in the summer, their first-round draft pick, or was he second-round draft pick? Early second-round pick or late
early
first?
Second-round guy. It was a potential. He's projected to go in the first round. Really highly rated analytics guy who fell into the second round and got scooped up by the Pacers.
Johnny Furphy, had a interesting summer league. He could, but and then a big name would be Benedict Mathurin. Now Mathurin is interesting for 2 reasons. One, Mathurin is extension eligible, and the Pacers, it's unclear how much more they're going to invest in this roster. They certainly drew a line in the sand on Miles Turner, and that sent a message. Of course, because they didn't spend money on re-signing Miles Turner, in theory, they could have money to extend Benedict Mathurin. But also, they're going to, Rick Carlisle has come out and said Benedict Mathurin will be in the starting lineup. And so he will get this big boost. And so if he has a big step forward year, he may even want to wait to sign because, he may have a breakout year. He's been a player who's been a little bit erratic where we saw it in the finals last year. He had, what did he have was it game 4 or game 5? He had the big game.
What we saw was, Rick Carlisle didn't fully trust him because he had the big game. I'm looking it up real quick. It
was in Indy. I think it was game 4.
Yeah, he had the huge game in game 3 when they won.
Game 3. Yeah.
When he scored, he was 9 and 12 from the floor and scored. My damn thing ain't scrolling over. I think it was like 27 and 23 minutes. Damn basketball. Yeah, 27 and 23 minutes. and only played 14 minutes in the next game. So listen, actions over words. Rick can say he trusts him all he wants, but the guy just had a huge game, was a massive factor in a finals win that gave them the series lead and regained home court advantage at that point. And then in the very next game, didn't play a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean he's a fascinating case because he's a ball dominant two that's a pretty inconsistent and I would say overall under below average 3-point shooter. He's career 34% shooter and is a streaky guy. Like you said, he can have games where he goes crazy like he did in game 3, and he can have a lot of games where he doesn't. And he's at times been an awkward fit playing with Tyrese Haliburton, who obviously, even though he's hurt going forward, is the guy they're going to be building the roster around. And we've seen over the last years in the playoffs, Andrew Nembhard has been a great fit next to Tyrese Haliburton and seems to make a lot of sense as the long-term answer at the 2. And they've got Aaron Nesmith at the 3. So it is going to be very interesting to see how this Nembhard-Mathurin backcourt this year looks and what direction that causes the Pacers to go in going forward. Like, Benedict Mathurin has a great year. Is he a way for the Pacers to get a replacement for Miles Turner long-term in some sort of deal? I don't have a deal in mind, but like, is he, some team want him? Does that turn into a big, allow them to reorient their roster and then go forward with something like the group they had this past season? I don't know. Maybe he plays great and they find a way to make it work long-term. But both of those guys in particular, like, I'm fascinated to see what Nembhard can do in a bigger role. Like, could he have 18 and 9 this year as a starter? Like, I don't know, maybe. Like, he's really good. And, Mathurin last year in 49 starts, almost 30 minutes a game, he averaged 16 points. If you told me he averaged 20 points a game this year and was their second leading scorer behind Pascal, like, sure, I could see that. Like, I could have see him having a good
Mathurin,
year.
he has started quite a few games in his career, about maybe 40% of the time.
Almost exactly 40%, 85 of 209.
He actually is a more efficient scorer coming off the bench than he is as a starter. I think because when he's in the second unit, they feature him a little bit more.
Well, and he gets to play against second unit defenders as well.
For sure. So that's going to be a role change for him, but it doesn't have to.
Mathurin physically, like, dude, he is 6'6" with enough, like, perfect NBA wing physique, phenomenally explosive, completely fearless, has some real
guard some
to him. Yeah, like, there is a lot.
He's an interesting player.
There's a lot to like about him.
But he is kind of a ball stopper, and he doesn't feel like a great fit long term with the Tyrese Haliburton Pacers. So
yeah, the fearless doesn't know. Sometimes there should be an appropriate amount of, if not fear, like recognition of the flow of the offense. Maybe.
Yeah, that backcourt. That backcourt, I'm really curious to watch this year and see what it means for both those guys going forward, because there's going to be opportunity. And I think we all agree that Indiana is not a team that we expect to be trying to lose games. They're going to want to make the playoffs. They're going to want to get playoff games. So again, going back to what you talked about before, Brian, like the way they play with the system they run and the pressure they play with, they're probably still going to be a fairly competitive team in the middle of the East. And my hunch is they find a way to get in the playoffs.
I would have them pencil, health of Pascal Siakam, etc.
Who's typically a really durable guy.
Yeah.
Plays a lot, plays a lot of minutes, and is really good.
And, he is, he's had a somewhat limited role in their offense since he got there. He scored more when he was in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
He's sort of been more of a middleman at times. They don't run as much stuff for him. The ball's in, the ball's
more of a play finisher than a play creator.
So
they'll be doing more of that this year, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at 3 years ago in Toronto, when he led the league in minutes 2 years in a row, he was averaging 23, 24 points a game. Last year he averaged 20. So, he could score a little bit more, and they're going to need it. They're going to need the scoring, and they're going to play fast, and they are, they have a couple of things going for them. They have two guys who were out last year with Achilles, and Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman is coming back. They traded for Jay Huff from the Grizzlies, who they're trying to find a diamond in the rough there. Yeah. They have depth, they still have depth. I mean, both Ben Shepherd and Jarius Walker, young guys that they've recently drafted, had flashes last year. They've got guys they can put out there. So they're going to need that depth to come through.
I am curious. You said McConnell will have a bigger role. I'm curious to see if that is actually the case.
I don't think he's going to start.
No, he won't start.
Yeah, I think he'll have the same role. I just think it'd be an important one.
That's Rick has already said Matherin's starting. Nembhard's going to play point guard. And
McConnell will come in and do McConnell things off the bench and do the whole second unit thing, which is going to drive a lot of regular season winning. Like that will win them. That Obi Toppin, McConnell playing fast, moving the ball, pressure group off the bench will, Rick knows how to scheme stuff up. Like they're going to find ways to win games.
McConnell averaged 18 minutes a game last year, 17.5 in the playoffs. I just think he's one of these guys who is a great third down back who you don't want to hand the ball 20 times a game.
Can't play him more than that, especially at this point of his career.
Speaking of football, MacMahon, Dallas.
Yes. Oh.
Can we go into Micah Parsons talk for the algorithm? Jackson's going to be fired up.
Hey, they got twice as many first-round picks as the Mavs did for Luke. I thought it was a great deal.
That's a good joke that's probably been repeated a few times today.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Is that seen in the same light as the Lucas stuff down there, in all seriousness?
I haven't been outside, but I don't sense it.
Do you need to be outside to
I don't sense.
You put your ear to the wind?
I don't sense quite that level of outrage. Certainly my mentions aren't as on fire as after the Luke.
Well, that's good.
But no, I mean, people ain't happy. People are not happy. And it's a pretty classic case of Jerry letting his ego influence some major franchise decisions. And, here's the thing. There'll be butts in the seats, but people have been trying to fire Jerry for, since Jimmy Johnson got run out of town. So
that was a long time ago.
All right. So this week, ESPN, like all of our panel of people, we projected like what teams' records would be. Like this is one of these things like they crowdsourcing, ask a bunch of people who do this for a living what their opinions are of wins, which by the way, the Bucks came in with 46, sixth in that group. So that's where they came. The Detroit Pistons came in with 47 wins. By the way, this projection, which is of course completely unscientific, it is an indication of how little faith there is in the Eastern Conference, because only 3 teams in the East were projected by the ESPN group to have more than 47 wins. Last year there were 5. And 5 in the standings, in the real standings. So there's not a lot of excitement about the teams in the East, but the Pistons, I could see their fans grumbling a little bit that our group didn't feel that they would be more improved, especially with some of the teams around them weakening.
They made a 30-win jump last year. Nobody saw that coming, but boy, that's a pretty, it's a historically huge jump. And they lost some key pieces from that team. Now, they're getting Jaden Ivey back, but
they added Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson.
Yeah, and certainly I thought that Duncan Robinson, given the circumstances, I thought they had to get a volume long-range shooter. Because the space, we talked a lot last year about, you finally put spacing around Cade Cunningham, and look at the year that Cade Cunningham had. Look how he blossomed and basically just morphed into a superstar. And we'll see, like Ron Holland, how much better can he be in his second year? But look, Dennis Schroeder was a key piece for them. Malik Beasley, and we'll see how that plays out, was a
Well,
really,
let me just say
really
something real quick. So Malik Beasley, he played all 82 games. He averaged 3 or 4 3-pointers made a game.
Had the second most threes made in the league.
Right. And shot 42% on them. He's gone. Tim Hardaway Jr., well, he ain't on the roster today.
He's not on the roster today.
They replaced him with Karis LeVert, who's a nice player, but is not nearly the same kind of shooter. And this was a team that thrived on giving Cade Cunningham a ton of space, to your point.
Okay. So Tim Hardaway Jr. started 77 games.
Yeah, but there is a like-for-like replacement there.
Okay, hold on. Tim Hardaway Jr. started 77 games, made 2 threes a game, shot 37%. So between Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley, they took 15 threes a game, made 6 of them. So
40%.
And they were replaced by, as you mentioned, Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson. And I will tell you what those guys.
I think Duncan Robinson is a good replacement for
LeVert
or Tim Hardaway. But
LeVert shot 34% on threes last year. Actually, overall, let me take his Cleveland stats too. He shot 37%. Like he was part of that Cleveland crew that didn't miss for 3 months.
Yeah, look, I mean, they went from Dennis Schroeder, Malik Beasley, and Tim Hardaway to Duncan Robinson, Karis LeVert, and the return of Jaden Ivey, who had a very interesting start to the year and then had that rough injury and missed the rest of the season. He should be ready to go in the fall. And look, I have a story coming out Friday that we're going to talk about, I believe, later in the weekend with my thoughts on what teams could exceed or fall short of their projections. One of the 10 teams that I highlighted was I think Detroit will fall short of 47 wins, and it's partially for the reason MacMahon pointed out. They had a historic jump last year. It was a great season. JB Bickerstaff did a terrific job. Cade Cunningham became an All-NBA player. They won their first playoff game in almost 20 years, had that fun series against the Knicks in the first round. But a lot of times when you see a team have that kind of a leap, there's a bit of a consolidation the next season. And they did lose some key pieces. They do have to reorient the roster a little bit. And also, I think Trajan Langdon, the president of basketball operations there, did a really smart thing this summer and didn't say, hey, we made this jump. We've now arrived. We're going to go throw money around and get veterans and try to, show that we're a top 4 team in the East. I think they looked at their roster, and as you guys mentioned before, they've got Jaden Ivey. They've got Ron Holland, who they drafted 5th last year. They've got Jalen Duren, who's an interesting young big who made some strides with JB Bickerstaff last year. And I think a lot of this season is going to be about, can those guys, kind of Sar Thompson, who got over the blood clot issue, came back. Can those guys continue to grow? Especially. Yes. Can those guys continue to grow and progress and get more development in minutes and shots and touches and be part of things? If Detroit wins 43 games and those guys all improve, that's a lot more important than playing some veterans more minutes and winning 48 games.
Hey, MacMahon, can I take you to an off ramp for a second here?
Yeah.
Tim Hardaway Jr., 3 years ago in Dallas, 71 games, 14 points a game, 39% on 7 threes a game. 2 years ago in Dallas, 79 games, 14 points a game. I know the guy's streaky, okay, but I'm just telling you his raw numbers. 14 points a game, 36% on threes, on 7 threes a game. Last year in Detroit, 77 games, 11 points a game, 37% on threes, on 6 threes a game. How come he gets a minimum contract in Denver?
Well, he stinks defensively. He takes a lot of,
so does Duncan Robinson. He got $16 million.
Okay, he takes a lot of charges, and he is just a turnstile. Other than that, and honestly, I thought he was great value as a minimum contract. So I'm not going to sit here. No,
I agree. I'm just saying, like Duncan Robinson got $16 million. He averaged 11 points a game last year.
If you look around the league, a lot of players in the Tim Hardaway, Malik Beasley, who was on a minimum, and Milwaukee before signing for $6 million the next year. Gary Trent Jr., another guy in a similar sort of role, been on a minimum the last 2 years in Milwaukee. A lot of these like kind of shoot first two guards who can maybe guard a little bit. That position has been pretty devalued, I would say, generally. And in a market this summer where there wasn't a lot of money available, like I think for Tim, like to me, it was a smart move for Tim Hardaway to go play with Nikola Jokic this year on a minimum. And I assume he's going to get a ton of wide open threes, probably like Malik Beasley last year. He's going to make a ton of wide open threes. And if he does, I think he'll have a chance to get paid somewhere next summer.
Yeah, the way things ended in Dallas for Hardaway weren't great. And if you don't believe me, just ask his dad. I think he's still talking about how much they wanted to get the hell out of Dallas, and the feeling was mutual. But the guy came into Detroit and was a significant part in helping them make such a huge improvement. So I thought he had a season that would kind of restore his value. Apparently, that wasn't reflected in the free agency market. But again, as a minimum player, he is streaky, but you got to guard him. And I thought he was a really good addition for that Denver bench.
All right. Sorry. I know we're talking about the Pistons.
But, hey. But those young guys are going to be really interesting to see how they develop this year around Cade.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. We haven't really talked that much about Cade. Like, as a reminder, Cade Cunningham was second team All-NBA or third team All-NBA last year. Made the All-Star team.
Yeah. I think got the Supermax because of it.
Got some MVP votes, if I'm not mistaken. Put up monster.
I think you're right. Put up monster. Check that while you're talking.
Look, if you a wager on the Pistons, I mean, yeah, you can talk about what Jaden Ivey might do, what Duncan Robinson might do, what Karis LeVert might do, all that stuff. Your wager on the Pistons reaching into that top four is a wager on Cade Cunningham. If he continues if his ascension continues.
Cade Cunningham got a couple of votes last year. Tied Anthony Edwards for 7th in MVP voting.
Have you guys seen some of Ann Edwards' videos from his trip to China this last week?
I was amused at him and Bill Duffy, the longtime agent for Yao Ming and now Anthony Edwards' agent, taking a picture together with Yao Ming. I thought that picture was
Every picture with Yao Ming is unbelievable.
Did you see what Ant said?
Yes, that's why I was laughing.
I saw it, but I forget. What did he say?
I would have dunked on Yao.
Yes, I would have dunked on him too. I think.
I know he would have tried to.
Yes, he would have. But yes, he's been enjoying himself in China.
Cade Cunningham's clearly the Pistons' most important player, long term and now. Who's second on that list?
I would say Asar Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
I think Asar, I don't know. His offense is rougher than his brother's. I don't know if he's going to get to a place where he can be an impactful offensive player, but if he can, he's going to be an all-star. Because his defense is really, really good. And for all the same reasons as Amends, he can be a massive disruptor. But I think, it's a big year for Jalen Duren. He's got to continue to take steps forward.
So you think Duren's third on that list?
I would probably say, because of where the league is at, that it's more important for them to have Asar Thompson and Ron Holland pop than Jalen Duren, because there's a lot more bigs and you can probably find another big. Obviously, if Jalen Duren can really pop, that would be good. But yeah, look, I think those three guys, and to a lesser extent Ivy, this year is about where are they at the end of the season. And if those guys have all taken meaningful steps forward, I think, like I said, if Detroit has 44 wins again or 43 wins and they're in the play-in, I could see some Pistons fans being like, man, are we taking a step back? But if that is accompanied by those young guys developing and playing bigger roles and having impactful moments this season for the Pistons, then I think that's a successful year, because to your point, it's about growing those guys going forward with Cade more than we got to get to 47 wins this year or 48 wins this year. And maybe they'll do both. We'll see.
Well, we talked about Matherin. Jaden Ivey is also extension eligible. Okay. and he had 30 very good games last year before he got injured. And, this is another one of those things. Do you extend him before the October deadline, before he gets a chance to maybe have a pop season, or do you make him have the pop season? But he was on the way to that last year.
I think it's pretty hard. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty hard to come to a number that made sense for everybody.
Hey man, I just always think of, and I'm not trying to compare him to Steph, but I just always think of, Steph Curry had all these ankle injuries, and they're like, man, do we give him the extension? What do we do? And, not that he's going to become a superstar, but sometimes you can get a guy, who just wants to lock in stuff. And next thing you know.
Yeah, I think listen, I would understand if they did. I just think for both sides, it probably will make more sense to wait till next summer, but it wouldn't stun me if they get something done with him. And same with Jalen Duren. Like, he's another interesting extension guy. Like, what happens with him? Do they get a deal done with him? But to me, this year in Detroit, it's about those 4 young guys and what do they look like in April? And if they've taken big steps forward, then that's going to be a successful year regardless of the record.
All right, that wraps our Central. Wait a minute, is there another team in Central Division? I'm sorry.
Doubles.
I don't mean to be insensitive.
You don't?
Hey, the Bulls
seem fairly insensitive right there.
The Bulls.
Hey, everybody in Chicago's fired up about the Bears. Maybe they'll have their first ever 4,000-yard quarterback this season. Could do more football talk now. We can skip right past.
Can I just say real quick? MacMahon, you're a football guy. Did I miss that 4,000 yards is that long been the historic benchmark, that if you're a 4,000-yard quarterback, you're a Hall of Famer? Well, I had never heard this 4,000-yard stat.
But they just haven't had a 4,000-yard guy.
It's just a way to. It's just a very good way to exemplify that the best quarterback in the history of the Bears is Sid Luckman, who played there about 90 years ago.
Hey, also, we got to give a shout out to Uncle Jim McMahon.
Jim McMahon was a great quarterback for the Bears defense that won with a legendary, or Bears team that won with a legendary defense. He was.
I told you guys
he was a great quarterback?
Have I told you my Uncle Jim story?
You have.
Okay, good.
I don't remember it, but
you could tell it again. You have told it though.
We'll tell the Cliff Notes version. 3rd grade, the year of the Super Bowl Shuffle Bears. Told a couple kids in the playground Jim McMahon was my uncle.
Oh yes, that's right.
Now they didn't check the spelling. MC, MAC. People screw that up all the time. I'm MAC, he's MC, but I could get away with it. Got away with it so well that every Monday that school year, I was up at the front of the class giving reports on how old Uncle Jim did.
Yes.
Right up until, I believe it was week 11, 12. It was, I remember, I believe the Bears went 11-0 when they came down to Dallas and beat the absolute crap out of Tom Landry's Cowboys. 44-0 game. Well, the week of that game, my teacher asked my mom, something along the lines. I'm sure
it's never good. That's never a good.
Yeah, I'm sure
is little Timmy going to the game?
I'm sure your brother-in-law is going to be busy this week, but are you guys going to get any time with him? You're going to be able to see him, And my mom said, "I'm sorry. What are you talking about? I don't have a brother-in-law." Well, I was up at the front of the class the next day, and it wasn't giving a report on how old Uncle Jim was doing.
Oh,
it was the beginning of McMahon's many times in the penalty box in school. Was it a life lesson?
Yeah, a life lesson.
Well, he didn't take the lesson, but it was doled out.
No, I'm honest now. I lied, and then I either was going to fess up to the lie right away or just double, triple, quadruple down on it. And man, I rode that thing for damn near 3 months.
By the way, I checked it. There is only one team in the entire history of the NFL, including expansion teams, who has not had a 4,000-yard pass.
But my point is, I'd never heard this. Okay, 20 wins pitchers, decades. It's like a benchmark.
Sure.
I'd never
obviously
teams
throw the ball more now, but it's just a shorthand way to say the Bears have not had a good quarterback.
No, I got it. I'm just arguing about this 4,000-yard stat.
Yeah, I think the NBA equivalent is you haven't had a 25-point per game score. It's not some holy grail.
But again, I haven't heard that ever said. We've never had a 25-point per game.
How many teams in the NBA? That's also because everybody's had one.
Exactly. I bet you if there's a franchise that had never had one, then you'd probably hear it.
This won't come up again after Caleb Williams probably.
Do you remember
does
the
it this
Bulls
year.
were like known for like not having $100 million player? They were the last NBA team to have $100 million player.
Well, you know what?
Hey, and now Patrick Williams damn near is.
So can I just say something, Bontemps? The Bulls
it's your pod, bro.
Have like $85 million in expiring contracts this year.
Correct. They do.
That is not discussed at all because nobody looks at the Bulls as being strategic. Is that fair?
No,
that's fair.
That's completely unfair. That is completely unfair. You know who the Bulls is being strategic? Well, hold on. I got to find this quote. Nikola Vucevic looks at the Bulls.
Oh God, I don't even know what this quote is going to be. I'm not even kidding.
He was just over there in Eurobasket's going on, so he's chit-chatting with the media, playing for Montenegro, and I've got to find it. But I know Vooch was singing old AK's praises. What's Vooch's contract?
Well,
by the way?
It's big.
He's got these 21 million this year expiring, 21.4 million.
How did that trade go? Do you recall?
Didn't go great. Franz Wagner and Wendell Carter for Nick Vucevic has not worked out great for the Bulls. I mean, the interesting thing about the Bulls expiring is more than anything. I mean, obviously the Josh Giddey situation remains unresolved, like several of these restricted negotiations around the league. We'll see if they can get a deal done with him or if he takes the qualifying offer. You got the quote there?
I got it.
Just filibustering for you.
Yeah, this is from Basket News, which is a European-based basketball.
It's a European aggregation site.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and let's see. That's not just aggregation. He was talking with.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. Take it all back.
Okay, and hold on.
Okay, so you haven't actually found the quote.
He's saying the fans just have to stay patient with the results.
That's what AK asked for.
I know it is kind of the position he is in. If the results are not there, we all get a little bit of criticism, but that just comes with the job. When he first got here, I thought he made some very good moves, signing Lonzo, Caruso, Vucevic, and DeMar. I thought it was a very good team. It just did not work out. After that, sometimes it is hard to figure out what to do next. Psst, this is me. I'm going to take a break from Vucevic. One thing you don't do is trade Alex Caruso and then have the whole entire basketball world say, "Are you bleeping kidding me? They didn't get a single pick back, you dumbass." Okay, this is back to Vooch. Sorry. We had a lot of injuries and other challenges, but overall, I think he's done a good job. Now,
well, they have had injuries. That is true.
Now,
that is fair.
Is the part about he's done a good job true?
No, he obviously has not done a good job.
Okay,
but the interesting
extended.
Now they have decided to go with slightly younger players, and they did a good job in the draft as well. I think it is understandable that fans want results right away, but sometimes you need to be patient. Overall, I think he's done some pretty good things. So, hey, he's got a supporter in Vooch.
Well, maybe Vooch's trying to get another contract extension.
Yeah, why he couldn't believe he got the last one.
I mean, the Giddey situation remains unresolved. We'll see what happens with that. And I think the most interesting thing about the Bulls this year is the status of Kobe White, who is on a $12.8 million contract, very good value. He's probably
unlikely to extend.
To extend because they can't probably get to a high enough number to get him extended. And so, again, when you talk about the Bulls being strategic, I mean, honestly, the strategic thing to do would have been to trade Kobe White a year ago, but certainly to trade him now and to get some assets back for him, probably a good amount of assets back for him, given his contract and the quality of player he is. And, lean into this youth movement around Modest Buzelis and what likely could be a very high pick in this year's draft. Because I don't think the Bulls are going to be very
Noah
good.
Sengay, had some
Noah
moments.
Sengay, who they just drafted last year with the 12th pick.
Best known as the guy who had the X's fry balls whenever Furphy was dunking on him.
The Johnny Furphy dunk this summer. Yeah. So but that situation going forward, that situation going forward is going to be interesting to watch and see what happens with Kobe White. And it was also, we talked a lot about that Patrick Williams contract last summer, and then he got hurt, and it was a absolutely catastrophic season for him. So we'll see if he can get back on track.
Well, the Bulls have one winning season in the last 9 years. Whew. One winning season in the last 9 years. The last 3 years, they have won 40, 39, and 39. And with that information, the ESPN panel said they will win 36 this year.
Oh,
I for one, pick 39 because I'm no fool.
You did the math.
But, just enough to not get a franchise-changing lottery pick.
But the Giddey situation is interesting because I felt like the Vucevic thing, he made a bad trade and then he doubled down on it and gave him a bad contract. After the trade, however many, what was it, 2-3 years after the trade, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is a deal. It was a bad trade just because you didn't get value. But I think the $30 million a year that Giddey reportedly wants, that would be a bad contract. So he's not doubling down on it. Giddey's not a bad player, but I think the $20 million a year is pretty reasonable value for him. Now, we'll see how it all plays out, but I at least give the Bulls credit for not doubling down on a mistake, just to, I guess, try to save face, which I felt like is exactly what they did with this Vucevic deal.
Well, look, here's the thing. Over the last 15 games of the season last year, and I know March and April, you got to be careful overreacting to that. Over the last 15 games of the season, Josh Giddey averaged 25, 10, and 11.
I don't care. I don't care about that. That doesn't matter.
Okay, fine. But I'm just going to say, if he's going to take the qualifying offer and then you're going to play him the way you played him at the end of last season, and he's out there sniffing around averaging a triple-double.
And one thing,
how are you going to play him? Again, this comes down to strategy. What's your strategy?
Well, I mean, this comes down to negotiating against the qualifying offer. And I think the difference between...
Will you explain that, negotiating against the qualifying offer?
Yeah. So obviously we are in a situation right now where there's no cap space around the league, right? We've talked about the Jonathan Kuminga thing for months. We've talked about Quentin Grimes in Philly some. We've talked about this Josh Giddey situation some. All these guys have the same problem, right? They're all restricted free agents. They all would like a contract. They can't really go get another offer somewhere else. So if you're a team like the Bulls, probably the average person would sit there and think, all right, there's no other place for this guy to get paid. So we can turn the screws on this guy and give him as little money as you want, right? Let's get the single best deal we can get. That's true to a point, but you also have to navigate the human part of the negotiation. You also have to balance how close you get to the qualifying offer. So in Josh's case, his qualifying offer, because he was a starter last year, is somewhere around $11.5 million. Okay. So let's say Josh takes the qualifying offer. I believe it's been reported out there. It's been talked about. The Bulls are offering somewhere around 4 for 80. Either way, let's just say the Bulls are offering 4 for 80. Okay. You take the 11 million Josh should make this year. He's got to sign a 3-year deal for $69 million to get his money, but a very nice deal to get his money back. Right. I think that's a reasonable deal for him to get.
In other words, just because you sped over it. In other words, the delta, the difference between the $12 million that he would get, or the $11 million he gets a qualifying offer, versus what he would have gotten if he'd have taken the $20 million in year one.
Right. His salary this year would be somewhere around 17, 18 million. It's $6-7 million. Right. He can maybe make that back. The thing that's, to get a little off topic, the reason the Jonathan Kuminga thing is a very hard thing for him to take the qualifying offer for. His qualifying offer is like $7.5 million. He's getting offered somewhere around the potential to make $45 million. And his first year, over 2 years, but his first year deal is over 20. So
right, the delta on Kuminga is, in theory, 13, 14 million that he would leave on the table by taking the qualifying offer.
And for him to get the number back, he'd have to have a salary next year that starts somewhere around $40 million, which is almost in any scenario extraordinarily unlikely for him to get to.
Whereas Giddey, the delta between the qualifying offer and what the Bulls are offering,
at least what people have said they're offering is not, it's not that big. And so that's where, in theory, if the Bulls Like, to me, if this ended at like 3 for 75 or something, that would be a big enough gap where it would make sense and the deal would get done.
Right,
but I don't know if that's going to happen.
But just to be clear, you're explaining that it means that Giddey it makes more sense for Giddey to do the qualifying offer in theory, in this game.
It's just
theory.
a matter of the simplest way to put it is whether you take the qualifying offer or not is about risk mitigation. And for Josh Giddey, if this is the choice to make, there's not a lot of risk to take the qualifying offer. Whereas in theory, in the Jonathan Kuminga situation, we'll see if he chooses to take the risk, but there's almost no chance he would make that money back in a future deal. So that would be a much harder.
No chance. It's just that the mountain is higher.
The amount of money he would have to make it, I would say it's very little chance he would make it back. Like, he may make a lot of money in the future, but that's different about making the money back right away.
The other massive difference in their situations is if Giddey's in a situation in Chicago where he's going to have the ball in his hands, he's going to be starting, he's going to be the primary facilitator. He's in the situation he wants to be, as opposed to if he just stayed in Oklahoma City, he's coming off the bench and honestly probably would become more of a bit player. Where Kuminga is a complete bit player. And he was DNP CD in playoff games. There's a coach there who clearly doesn't really trust him and want to play him.
And this team, to your point, Tim, just acquired him from Alex Caruso, and you would think they'd valued him and did just start him all year at point guard. In theory, is going to value him going forward. So it would make sense for the Bulls to find a way to get a deal done. And I would guess they ultimately do get some deal done, but it's not as simple as, well, there's no money out there, get the lowest number you can get him on and go forward. Doesn't always necessarily work that way.
I do think we need to also mention that Giddey has maybe the most delightful collection of nicknames. When you look at his Basketball Reference page, they always have a nickname.
Are any of them about his hair?
Well, one is. Okay, I'm going to go in reverse order. Vanilla Magic.
Never heard that.
Wizard of Oz.
Because Oz is Australia. That's
a good one.
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, well, that he named himself that one, but it was a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one.
And then Slob Wizard. SLOB. Sideline out of bounds wizard.
Our guy Royce Young is the one who coined that. I believe that's a Royce Young special.
I think that was a Hollinger. I think that's even nerdier than Royce Young.
I would agree. I mean, Hollinger is somebody who would be talking about sideline out of bounds proficiency.
Yeah. True.
Look, if you're a Bulls fan, you're on the trade machine, dreaming of what your expiring contracts might be able to get you, and you're looking for Modest Buzelis to have a big step forward season.
Yeah, I think if you're a Bulls fan, you're rooting for as many losses as possible and a shot at AJ DeBanza or Nate Ament or Darren Pearson.
39-40, sir.
Like, I didn't say the Bulls front office. I said Bulls fans. They try to get one of these high level players in this year's draft. And
hey, the best thing about watching the Bulls is they have a really fun broadcast crew. Adam and me.
They do.
Nowhere near tall enough to referee an NBA game.
Oh my God!
Fun play-by-play.
Neither is their voice of their radio, Chuck Swirsky. Chuck Swirsky might be able to post up Adam and me.
Hey, Stacey King says all kinds of wild things.
They got a great broadcast. They got the best mascot in the league. That's what they got going for them.
What they got going for, and they got a great home arena.
Benny the Bull, man.
Is Benny the Bull the best mascot in the league?
I don't know. He's a great. I don't know if he's the best. He's historically a good mascot.
I'll say he's the best.
Boy, you are pushing it there, buddy. You go to a lot of arenas. There's a lot of mascots who can mess with you.
I believe
you better be speaking to Jackson about editing that out.
Old Rocky, the mountain lion, the former one's the one who showed me the middle of his three fingers after But
Benny the Bull is iconic. I don't think this is
Benny the Bull is iconic, but just be careful with Best there. I'm just giving you some advice.
I think it's fine. I'll live with it.
Who's in the conversation there? I
don't think there's another person.
Oh, Rocky's in there. Rocky's definitely in there.
There's plenty of great mascots. If you ask people name an NBA mascot, they're naming Benny the Bull.
The Jazz Barracks after he got GTA'd by freaking Gucci Mane. That knocked him down.
If you know that reference, if you know the reference that Tim Bontemps or that Tim, I just second if you know the reference that MacMahon
You're gonna get
just
thrown off
made,
your own pod if you keep doing
put
that.
it in the comments underneath, and you get bonus points. We don't give
What
any
are
point out,
the
but
bonus points worth? Who knows?
nothing.
Who
They're
can
not worth
say?
anything. But listen, to be honest with you, if you're this deep into a podcast on August 29th, you get bonus points and then double bonus points,
Especially
which are worth
if
nothing.
you get that inside of a joke this deep into a late August podcast.
So, somehow,
You're a
I don't
true
know,
fan.
like, when we do these
True
live
believer.
shows, there's like lots of merch and then the merch disappears. I don't know where it goes.
Bro, I don't have one now, but those good, strong, metal cups, the official Brian Windhorst.
They're great cups.
My boys went and collected every single one that people We've got like 15 of them here.
The twins,
All right, well,
the twins
good.
were
I want you to
marching
be
around with
thinking
the
about me
whole
at every
bucket of them.
meal. I want you to be thinking about me at every meal. Yeah, maybe at some point we'll send you merch for listening this deep in the podcast. They used to do that. There was, they still do them, but nobody actually ever looks at them. But like for every game, the NBA public relations staffs put together these thing called game notes where they have all this stuff in there. And back when I was a kid, like in 2003, when I used to, when I first started out covering the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks PR staff deep in the game notes would put like the first person to see this sentence and report to Sherry, who was the head of PR, gets a $20 gift card to like the team store. So like,
that's great.
I mean, I don't actually have a $20 gift card to give you, but we're brainstorming the idea. All right. That's enough about the Central Division. Thank you. I got to go check and see what the Nebraska Husker score is. Thank you for watching and listening to the Hoop Collective. Thank you to MacMahon. Thank you to Bontemps. Thank you to Jackson, our producer, who's got an early flight. And he thought his sleepless nights were over in August, but he's wrong, buddy. Couldn't do it till late.
Listen, he doesn't need to sleep to go watch the Orange get their asses whooped by Tennessee.
How much money they getting for that game, Jax? All right.
I asked him earlier. I said, are you really going down there to watch them get smoked? He said, they're only a 2-touchdown dog. I said, okay, that seems like a questionable move.
Let's go to
get
Atlanta.
on a plane for
all
that.
Right.
But
let's go to Atlanta. Who doesn't want to be in Atlanta in August anyway? All right. We'll talk to you early next week.
Adios, amigos.